Yes. So today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic called Agile Simplified for Product Managers. So what are we going to cover in this lecture? First of all, we will see that why Agile is required. Then we will go to what is Agile. Then what are the Agile manifestos? What are its principles? And what are the values based on which Agile is created? Then what are the principle of agiles, and last but not the least, we will also be discussing about the 7 agile terminology that every product manager should know in order to work efficiently. So, hi guys, I am Ashu Mishra. This is my LinkedIn ID and YouTube ID. You can follow all my videos and my content over at my LinkedIn. So before without further ado, let's start. So let's hear a story of John, right? In order to get to know why agile. So John is a graduate from a top most university and has recently joined as an APM. So while working, he got a mail of scheduled downtime of the software, and hence people can take a day off. John was surprised a little that why is it happening and what is it happening. So John walked on to his manager and asked, "What is the downtime and why is there a need for this?" John's manager, this is John's manager, he was a kind and compassionate one and told him, downtime is a specific timeline or frame allocated to change, update, or update change to a software. This is because organization is following a waterfall mechanism. So essentially what was happening? This was the whole software which was bifurcated into different level. One of these level would have gone some kind of deployment, hence the whole system has to be brought down for a little while, and hence this downtime came, right? Now John was curious and asked that what is waterfall. So his manager already told him that downtime is a repercussion of a waterfall mechanism, and hence John was also curious that what is a waterfall. So his manager replied, Waterfall is a traditional way of developing software where the whole product is considered a single unit and development is done sequentially. Adding a requirement needs a halting. Hence, downtime is required to avoid disturbance. So, guys, if you see this diagram over here, the first step is requirement, the second is design, the third is implementation, fourth verification, and fifth maintenance. So these are all sequential steps in order to create a software in the waterfall method. And this was the essentially problem that came in John's office as well. Now, moving further, John pressed that, but why did this happen? And are there any other cons associated with waterfall methodology? Right? So his manager replied, in waterfall mode, the output of one phase act as an input for other phase, and hence there is an avoidance of overlapping between each phase and are independent of each other and dependent of each other. My apologies, and are dependent of each other. Right. So what does John's manager mean by here? Let's say there is method A, B, C, D, right? Which is this requirement analysis, system design, implementation, in testing. Then there is a variable E called deployment, and finally there is a another step, maintenance, right? So even if either one of these steps are disturbed, right, the whole process has to go down. And the second part is the input from one, the input from one will become the output of another, or the this output will become the input, right? So output essentially is becoming the input. Okay, great. So let's move ahead. So for this, John's manager gave him example that let's say you go to a grocery store, right, and you tap a card over there. What the system does is is first of all checks the amount that has to be paid. Then the system checks amount in the bank, and if both of these criterias are meeting, then only the payment is done. Had any one of these flow been broken, had there been no pay balance in your account, or the amount would have been so very much that your bank would not have approved this transaction, the transaction flow would have broken. So this is the waterfall analogy, guys, from a perspective of payment, right? Now there are cons as well. The first con is what we are discussing right now, which is the recurring downtimes, which leads to system outage and revenue fall. Right. Second is slow software life cycle because everything has to go down. There has to be a lot of brainstorming before halting the system per se. And third is iteration at each cycle during any new deployment takes very, 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 very long time. Right. So till now, John was very distressed. He saw these three cons and was seeing a lot of ruckus around office, right? People leaving, etc. So he asked his manager, "Is there any way to overcome this?" His manager chuckled and said, "Yes, we are moving towards agile." So, like you guys also, John had this question, but what is agile? So, agile is a practice where a task is broken into separate pieces of microservices, which are faster to deploy and changes can be done on the go. So, there is no need to worry about downtime, right? So, if you see this diagram, guys, in this diagram, if you see the database is first prepared, then the servers are prepared, and then the client is onboarded. So, this is essentially a horizontal increment or a kind of waterfall mechanism, right? However, if you see this vertical mechanism, everything is running in sync. Everything is running in sync. The client server DB in this task 1 are working parallelly, in task 2 are working parallelly, in task 3 are working parallelly. So if you see, the value in this second scenario is much more incremental, right? Now, in agile life cycle, what essentially happens is all of us have uh, in our lifetimes listened to MVP. What is MVP? It is called minimum viable product, right? So it is a byproduct of agile life cycle. What happens is a minimum iterated product is created or a MVP is created. It is taken to client for functionality, deliverable, and a review. So what I mean by functionality and deliverable is that intended action equals to expected action. So if this equation is matching, the deliverables and the functionality is working. So client provides feedback, and in the first iteration, product is delivered, right? After that, the client again gives some kind of feedback, right? Then again, the product is iterated, made a V2 or V3, given to the client for review, functionality deliverables, client provides feedback, and the product is delivered. So this cycle goes on until and unless this product is at its prime stage. Okay. So, satisfied, John also asked, are there any companies which have transitioned from waterfall to agile? And what did they achieve? His manager said, yes. So, in this scenario, his manager will talk about two companies which have transitioned from waterfall to agile. The first company being a very famous IT company called Cisco. So Cisco had their subscriber billing program running and created on a waterfall, right? However, with time, they got to realize that this is a very cumbersome process. It has lots of downtimes, and hence the company decided to transition into the agile framework. Now, what happens essentially? The efficiency improved by 30%, the defects reduced by 40%, and the defect removal efficiency increased by 14%. So, all in all, this was a very efficient program in terms of cost saving, manpower, resources, etc. Right now, the second company that we are talking about is Sony, one which has PSP in place, right, and is very famous in terms of its audio, the motion pictures, etc. Now, Sony at a point of time realized that how important agile is for their organization, and hence once they deployed it, they saved 30 million year on year. And what happened is they reduced their planning time by 28%. Hence, they were moving faster and faster and producing and giving out products very in a very fast manner, right? And the down time also decreased by 13%, right? So, guys, till now we have discussed that why agile, right? There was a waterfall technique, which is a very iterate, non-iterative method. There was repercussion of downtime. Then this was a monolith kind of architecture, right, which was very risky in terms of iteration, etc. However, agile came in. Okay, with agile there are different sprints, and each of these sprints would have some kind of feedback 1, feedback 2, feedback 3. Then another would have feedback 4, feedback 5. Ultimately, once this is done, we get a very good product out of it, right? So we discuss about why agile. Now coming to what is agile, guys, right? So agile as a word has been overused in the market just to oversell and look professional. So we will be looking at three examples where agile is sold. However, the principle of agile will not remain the same, right? So this is a paper company asking you to put user stories on sticky notes because they sell essentially those sticky notes, right? The second is a consulting company who is asking you to use the software they are selling because it essentially helps you to improve your efficiency. But are they following the agile methodology or the agile mindset or not? That is something that is questionable, right? Then the third is an orthopedic who is saying that please do incorporate agile as each member has to stand to put their viewpoints in a room. Okay, so these are in a room and they have to be in the shoes, right, of the user. So these are the three things, but are they exactly agile? So before moving on to what is agile, guys, let's see what is not an agile. So agile is not a methodology. Agile is not a specific way of developing software. Neither is agile any framework or process. So just like Jackie Chan, you would also ask that Ashu, then what is agile? So my dear friends, agile is a set of values and principles. Now, these values are four values, right? And they have been described back in 2002 by a group of some very famous people across IT industry, tech industry, and these frameworks, right? You can go to agile manifesto.org to see the declaration of these people, right? So what they did, they imbibed a philosophy, they imbibed values and principle, and jotted them down so that the future generation can get and realize that what was the con of waterfall and do not get into it, right? Having said that, so these are the four values, right? The agile is described by four values, it is defined by 12 principles, and there are unlimited number of practical cases that has been manifested through this philosophy of agile. Okay, so coming to the key values, the four key values based on which agile is created and made. So what the value of agile says: individual and interaction over process and tools. So you are going to see the person that is doing the task, not the process or the SOP that is there, right? The second is working software over comprehensive documentation, and hence all those iterations, right, which we discussed in the before discussed in this lecture becomes very important. Then third is customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So guys, we saw over here that how an organization takes review from client, take review on functionality, deliverables, etc., etc. So that is a value that Agile has imbibed: customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Fourth one, responding to change over following a plan. So Agile, the principle of Agile itself says that you need to respond to change rather than follow an SOP. And hence, if you see the comprehensive documentation, which is a amalgamation of different kind of SOP, is not preferred over working software, right? So these are the four key values. Now let's talk about the much discussed Agile Manifesto. So Agile Manifesto, you can check it over at agilemanifesto.org. It's just a simple 68 word document in which the agile software development values the items on the left side over right side. So guys, these individual interaction, working software, customer collaboration, responding to change are there on the left. We will see in the manifesto is it's also. So what does this manifesto say? We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. Through this work, we have come to value. Now let's discuss about those four values that we talked about: individual and interaction over processes and tools, working software over comprehensive documentation, customer collaboration over contract negotiation, and last but not the least, responding to change over following a plan. That is, while there is a value in the items on the right, we value the items on the left more. So, what essentially this group of stalwarts, right, this group of philanthropists, philosophers, this group of innovators said that while there is a merit in these right things, comprehensive documentation PRD ultimately is required. Contract negotiation is also required. Following a plan is also required. However, that being said, guys, these left funds, these left values are respected more, are imbibed more in the philosophy of Agile, right? Moving forward, so what are the 12 principles of Agile that that supports these values? And they do not tell what to do. Rather, when you are in distress, when you are perplexed, you should think about these 12 principles, and it will guide you in making the right kind of decision. So, like, guys, let's go one by one through these 12 agile principles and understand what they are saying, right? And you will also see that somehow these 12 agile principles are mirroring those four values that we just read. So, first, satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of valuable software. Welcome changing requirements, right? That we read about, that responding to change, the fourth principle that we talked about. Welcome changing requirement, even late in development, agile process, harness change. Then third is deliver working software frequently with a preference to the shorter time scale. What does this say? That working software, right, over comprehensive documentation, guys. This was the principle, this is the principle, and this is the value that this philosophers talked about. Coming to the fourth one, business people and developer must work together daily throughout the project. And hence, if you see, there are daily stand-ups where there are developers, there are PMs, there are QAs, they are meeting on a daily basis. So daily stand-up comes from this fourth principle, guys. Build programs around motivated individuals and trust them to get the job done. So agile, what does this say? That people are respected more, right? People are the one that has to be trusted. and hence we should trust them to get the job done. The most efficient method of communication is a face-to-face conversation, and hence these daily stand-up guys, it's so fruitful and it's so worth doing. Then seventh is working software is a primary measure of progress, guys. No there should be a comprehensive documentation. Having said that, we will always give preference to working software. The eighth is agile process promote sustainable development. Ninth is continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances agility. Right, very right, guys. So if you see this word, tech continuous attention, right? So every PM is asked to do discovery, see in the problem space, not in the solution space first of all, right? So this is the continuous attention, guys, that agile is itself talking about. Then simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not being done is essential, right? So simplicity, there should be a very simple thing. Any fool can make things complicated. It takes a genius to make simpler, guys. So that's what a product manager does, and this is what a product manager should also live for. As Steve Jobs, one of the most fascinating innovators, one of the brightest mind history has ever seen, said, cut the clutter, keep it simple. So this 10th principle is talking about that. Then the 11th principle is the best architecture requirement and design emerge from self-organizing teams, right? So what are those what are those three teams? There is a product own manager, there is a developer, there is a designer. So this team alone is a self-organizing team. They are providing input to each other. So guys, what 11th principle is saying, that this it's shorter team. Even if you see the Amazon's principle of two pizza theory, right? What it says is there should be a number of people in a meeting who can eat two pizzas only, right? So all of these are coming from this 11th principle of agile. Then last but not the least, that the team regularly reflects on how to become more effective. Discovery, guys, discovery, and that's what a product manager, a good leader, a 1% operator does. So these are the 12 agile principles, guys. Now, moving on to a more and a more practical way of looking at things from a PM's perspective. So these are the seven terminologies we will see, guys, in order to understand agile more and how you can utilize it in your daily lives. The first is Scrum. So Scrum is an agile methodology in which a team works in short bursts of work ranging from 2 to 4 weeks, called sprints. At the end of the sprint, they deliver the product to the customer, and in turn, the customer give developer their feedback. So what essentially is happening, guys, over here is, so this is a whole Scrum process. Let's say there is a product one, right? And that product one has feature one, feature two, feature three, and each of these features require, let's say, 14 days, okay, to build. So this whole cycle, until and unless this product is picture perfect, is called a Scrum process. And that's essentially, guys, you can also see over here. Just let me rub it. In this diagram you can see, right? There is a Scrum master, there is a product owner, user story, then there are stakeholders, right? Then there is a developer. What is it doing is sprint backlog, planning, implementation. This whole week of 2 to 4 week runs, and multiple wheels like these constitutes a Scrum process, guys. And essentially, now, what is a Scrum Master? So, Scrum Master is the leader of the Scrum. They organize meeting, remove impediments, and work with the product owner to ensure that product backlog is up to date. In some companies, the Scrum Master is the product manager itself, right? And there is no requirement of product owner. So, what you see over here is they are fostering communication, protecting the team, maintaining the tool, reporting, meeting facilitation, agile coaching, team support, and remove blockers, right? Then, guys, we talked about sprint. Now, coming to the third part, what is exactly a sprint? So, sprint is a designated time period of 2 to 4 weeks where Scrum team completes specific objectives and move toward their targeted goal as scheduled. This goes on until the backlog is complete, right? And the product is at its prime. Now, you would wonder that what is backlog, Ashu? Okay, guys. So let's come to backlog, right? So backlog is nothing your pending work, the work that you haven't done till now. Okay, it constitutes the backlog. Now, backlog can come from two ways: whether there is a new discovery that has been done, right? And second, there is some pending task which you were not able to pick up in the in the previous sprints. Now, if I go by the definition, a prioritized list of features and requirement for a project that has not been started yet. It's a list of new product features, updates, bug fixes that are required by the user. At the start of every iteration, the product owner decides which backlog items need to work on. After every iteration, the backlog is regularly updated with user suggestion and new features. So essentially, what is happening, guys? So this is the whole laundry list. Okay, this whole laundry list is discussed with the stakeholders, product owner or product manager, the engineering manager, where it is called the project team, and based upon the prioritization that what the company requires, what is the vision, and then there are some kind of rise, Kano, etc., etc. Prioritization metrics. The this specific user story, right, is put into the sprint backlog, and hence it goes into sprint, and after 4 weeks it essentially gets developed, right? So guys, this is a very important concept that you all should uh, think of and all should remember. Now coming to the other concept, guys, bottleneck. So what are bottlenecks? So bottleneck, as the name suggests, are issues that can completely slow down the development process. So if you see over here, guys, this person is stuck. Why? Because of this bottleneck, right? This is the bottleneck, and he cannot pass them. And the very same line software also gets stuck because of some issues, some bugs, or some constraint in terms of a database, API, etc., etc., etc. Right. Now coming to the sixth one, guys. What is a user story? So user story, this is a very famous concept and used in all the PRDs and all the product, and especially asked in the interviews as well, right? So guys, let's go and read what is a user story. So user story is a brief description of a feature of requirement from the perspective of an end user. It is a brief description of a specific product feature or a function that customer would find helpful. A user story looks like something this: a user, I want to do a thing so that I can achieve a goal. So let's take an example, guys, over here, right? So if I go to Amazon, okay, and I need to see the lowest price product on top. So what would be my user story over here, right? So let's write it together. So as a Amazon user, I want to see least priced product on top so that I can make quicker decision regarding price points. Okay. So what is happening over here, guys? As an Amazon user, right? This is me. What is my intended action? That I want to see least price product on the top. And why do I want to do it? So that I can make quicker decision in terms of price point, that I should I need to buy it or not, right? So this is the user story, guys. So as a product manager, right? As a product manager, management experience, you need to be very acute on this kind of concept, because this is a concept that puts you in the shoes of the user, and that itself creates the empathy, guys, right? And somehow if you also see that the jobs to be done, right, framework is a very tantamount and is a very equal framework and equal philosophy to this user story. So with that said, guys, let's come to our last concept, which is called Kanban. right? So Kanban, if you see, it is a very interesting concept that was developed in Toyota production plants. So what used to happen was, let's say there are three things. Let's take this example only: to do, doing, and done. There is a manufacturing assembly line, okay, and there is a piece that has to be manufactured, and this piece is created only after joining five pieces, right? Out of this, two pieces are in to do, two pieces are doing, and one piece is done. So what used to happen was, all these were of similar colors, right? And each one of those person who were working on the assembly line had to read it out, that what are the things that are being done, what are the things that been doing. And hence Japanese people had this very inquisitive idea. They attached color to each one of these tasks. So if you guys see over here, that in to do, right, it is a blue color; in doing this, it is a pink color; and in done, it is a green color. So now coming to the definition, that Kanban is a highly visual agile framework. Instead of Kanban in fixed and planned iteration like in Scrum, Kanban teams work on priority tasks whenever they come in. The goal of Kanban is to have constant stream of work without any bottlenecks. So guys, this is a very important and important concept, and somehow Jira is also using this kind of concept, wherein the storyboards, right, are bifurcated as per the different colors. So, guys, thanks a lot. Thank you for reading till this end. And please do leave your feedback for this video. It will help me to create content better. And last but not the least, that learn something new every day, because there are multiple things to learn, and each one of these, increases your knowledge and makes you a wise person at the end of the day, guys. So you can give me your feedback on my LinkedIn, right? Or you can drop in comments to my YouTube. This is my YouTube and LinkedIn referrals, guys, right? And this is done, guys. Like, we are done with this agile concept per se. I am Ashu Mishra, who was presenting this. Thanks a lot.